Hello and welcome back everyone. My name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Target UPSC Prelims 2024 Current Aware Revision Series. So if you have not started watching it, so please go through this particular series because that will be very beneficial for your prelims point of view. We have come up with various episodes related to various sections of your syllabus, and in today's video we will be talking about current affairs which are related to your science and technology. So we will be going through some important current affairs events which has happened in the past. Okay, so let's start. So the first is related to your India's first dark sky reserve. So when we are talking about this dark sky reserve, basically we are meaning that a part of the area wherein the interference of the artificial light is minimum, or you can say there is no interference from the artificial light. Okay. So when we think of such area, obviously such area should be remote area, because obviously if there is no human settlement over there, then only we can say that there is no artificial light. Okay. So let's see what is this about. Recently, Department of Science and Technology has announced setting up of India's first dark sky reserve in 𝐭𝐿, that is Ladakh. Okay. So when we are talking about this dark sky reserve, here you can say it is a public or private land with a distinguished nocturnal environment and starry nights that has been developed responsibly to prevent the light pollution. You know that in the areas, or when we are talking about the metropolitan cities, etc., this is very hard for you to see the clear skies over there, or you can say stars in the night. Okay. So here we are saying that because of the light pollution, we are not able to see such things. Whenever we are talking about this dark sky reserve, since there is no light pollution over there, because there is no human settlement, and ultimately these are remote areas, so there is no light pollution, and because of which you will be able to see the clear sky if there is no cloud. Okay. So with metros, cities and peripheral areas experiencing light pollution, there are very few areas that offers a view of clear sky on the cloudless night. Okay. So basically, in the simple words, you can say that a dark sky reserve is a designation given to a place that has policies in place to ensure that the tract of land or region has minimum artificial light interference. Artificial lights means the you can say the electricity related lights or bulbs, LEDs, etc. They have minimum you can say presence over there. Okay, such place has been made in 𝐭𝐿, Ladakh. Okay. So moving further, here you can see that there is this body, International Dark Skies Association, that is a US based body. Okay, that is the body which give the designations related to such dark sky reserves. Other than that, there are dark sky places, parks, sanctuaries and reserves. Okay. Now key highlights of the dark sky reserve in Ladakh. When we are talking about Ladakh here, there is a chance that we will build up this astro tourism. Okay, the tourism over there with respect to the astronomy or astrology. Okay. Now there can be a place wherein you can go and visit the stars in the night, so that is boosting the astro tourism and the local tourism, so that you can build the economy over there. Okay. So other than that, there can also be a chance of generating wildlife awareness. When we are talking about this wildlife awareness, because there is this wildlife sanctuary, that is 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐬 Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, this 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐬 Wildlife Sanctuary, here you can see in the map in Ladakh, it is located somewhere here. This is your Pangong Tso Lake. Okay, so in the vicinity of Pangong Tso Lake, here somewhere we have this 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐬 Cold Desert Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, so we are going for twofold purpose over here. First is your astrotourism, second is related to your wildlife awareness. Okay. Now, why we have chose this particular place, why Ladakh has been chosen? As I told you, when we are talking about this dark sky reserve, there should be a remote area, or you can say the interference of the artificial light should be minimum. Obviously, there should not be any human settlements. There should not be any kind of pollution over there. So that is why we have chosen this cold desert with sparse population. Okay. So we have chosen this Mount Saraswati in the Neelam-Khul plain. Okay. So please remember this name. Neelam-Khul plain, this is located in the Ladakh area. Okay, in the 𝐭𝐿 valley of 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐬. Okay, now this particular places, you can make sure that you remember all these places, because Mount Saraswati, Neelam-Khul plains, valley of 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐬, all these things can be asked in your prelims examination. Now when we are talking about this Ladakh is dry cold desert with a sparse human population and has 𝐭𝐿 monastery over there in the vicinity. Okay, so these are certain things which you can remember. Then other than that, there are clear skies because there is no population. Okay, then there are, as I told you, this is a dry place or cold desert. That is why there are less water vapor present in the atmosphere. So because of all these things, that is basically an area of cloudless sky. Okay, without any kind of pollution, without any kind of obstruction in the view of the sky. Okay, that is why we have chosen this Ladakh as an area. Okay, So this is basically your observatory, that is your Henle in Ladakh. Okay. Moving further, here you can see there are other telescopes which are also situated over there in the Henle Observatory, that is Himalayan Chandra Telescope, High Energy Gamma Ray Telescope, Major Atmospheric Cherenkov Experiment Telescope, Growth Telescope over there. Okay, so please, you can remember the name. Otherwise also please remember this Henle Observatory, which is quite important for you because that is the India's first dark sky reserve. Okay, now we can move forward with the next article. First, green hydrogen cell bus. Okay, so this particular bus, they are using green hydrogen. Green hydrogen means that any one kind of hydrogen, or you can say a kind of hydrogen which has been produced with and without any kind of emission, without any kind of carbon emission. So the when we talk about the production methods, there are various production methods, among which there is a production method wherein this carbon dioxide emission is zero. So such production method is basically, or the resultant hydrogen is basically green hydrogen. Okay. Now, how do you come up with green hydrogen? We will see in the further slides. Here you can see recently country's first green hydrogen fuel bus was flagged off in Delhi, marking a revolutionary step in the transition to clean energy. Obviously, because of the climate change, etc., we are moving towards clean energy, and this is one such example. What is green hydrogen fuel cell? Okay, so green hydrogen fuel cells are clean, reliable, quiet and efficient source of high quality electric power. Okay, so they are basically talking about electric power. When we are talking about cell is a device, or you can say wherein you convert the chemical energy into electric energy. Okay, so that will generate electrical power. They use green hydrogen as fuel to drive electrochemical processes that produces electricity with water and heat as the only byproduct. That is, they are basically talking about this hydrogen cell, which we will see in the further slide, that what basically the concept is. Okay, so when we are talking about green hydrogen, as I told you, there will be no emission, and the process here is called electrolysis. What happens here is that they take the H2O molecule and then they split it into H2 and O2. Okay, so that process, electrolysis process, they use, and they basically you can say split it into two molecules of hydrogen and oxygen. Here this hydrogen which has been generated by the electrolysis in which you can say that by the using the electricity you are breaking that particular molecule. Since there is no use of any kind of fossil fuel or any kind of gas, etc., that is why it is emission free. Okay, so here you can say green hydrogen is a type of hydrogen produced through the process called electrolysis by using renewable energy sources like wind or solar power. So basically you will use this particular renewable energy sources like wind energy or solar energy to break that particular molecule. Okay, now it involves splitting H2O into oxygen and hydrogen. So that is simple, with zero greenhouse emissions. Now what is fuel cell? As I told you, it is the electrochemical device which will convert the chemical energy into electrical energy. Okay, so it will consist two components. One would be anode, one will be cathode. Now let's see what is the working of this particular fuel cell. Here you have this hydrogen fuel cell in front of you. As I told you, this hydrogen fuel cell will use green hydrogen. Okay, so here you can see this particular anode here is of green hydrogen. Okay, now this fuel will get inside this particular thing, that is your hydrogen, and now you know that hydrogen has one electron. Okay, so when it will go inside, there will be this electron which will be freed over here, and the remaining H plus ion. Obviously when there is an atom, if we lose, it loses one electron, minus one electron, so it will result into H plus. Okay, there will be a positive charge over there. So we will have two H plus ions. Okay, here, and then these electrons will start flowing from your anode to cathode. In your science static portion, you must have heard that the flow of electron is always from the anode to cathode. Okay, so from anode to cathode there will be a flow. Ultimately this particular flow is, or you can say the flow of electron is called electric current, and that is your electric energy. Okay, so now what we are doing is we are taking hydrogen, we are taking the chemical energy, we are converting into electrical energy. Okay, now this is how that particular thing, or you can say electricity, will be generated over here. Now what will happen to the electrons which are coming back at the cathode? So at cathode we have these electrons, we have these H plus ions which are already there in the, you can say, electrolyte solution, and then we have this air that is also used as input. When we are talking about air, it means that we are talking about oxygen. So when this oxygen will enter, this oxygen along with these electrons plus your hydrogen plus ion. Okay, so ultimately that would be your hydrogen plus oxygen that will convert into your H2O. Okay, you don't have to go into the chemical balancing of these equations, etc., but just know that with the use of this H plus ions, electrons, and these particular oxygens which are coming in for at the cathode, we will generate H2O. Okay, now two things are basically generating here. One is your electric current, or you can say there will be some kind of heat which will be generated in the exothermic reactions. Second would be water, as H2O is coming out of here. So there are two byproducts. One is heat, second is water. Okay, so there is no role of carbon dioxide at all. So we can say that it is emission free process. This is totally a zero emission green energy, clean energy project. Okay, this is what we have written here, that how this particular process will perform. Okay, now we can move further. So when we are talking about these various types of hydrogen based on the production method, so till now in India or otherwise also, we are mostly relying on the gray hydrogen, because these blue hydrogen or the other kind of hydrogen like green hydrogen, etc., these are costly affairs. Okay, so right now what is green hydrogen? So here you can say, wherein we'll be using the natural gas as a, you can say, input, and with that we will be generating hydrogen. Okay, now since natural gas is an organic product, okay, now it is organic product means that there will be a presence of carbon, hydrogen, etc. So ultimately, if there is a presence of carbon and hydrogen, and because of the combustion we are producing this hydrogen over here, so there will be emission of carbon dioxide. Okay, so there will be emission of carbon dioxide. So when we are talking about gray hydrogen, there will be emission of carbon dioxide, and we are using natural gas as a input. Okay, now this second procedure is your blue hydrogen. In blue hydrogen, for the input, or you can say as a raw material, we can use this natural gas. And similarly, as here they have come up with the CO2 as a byproduct and hydrogen as the product of the this particular process. But the thing is, whatever CO2 which is been released over here, they will sequester it in the ocean, or you can say store in the ocean. Okay, since we are storing it in the ocean or underground, that is why it is called blue hydrogen. Okay, I hope this is clear. So we can say that there is emission, but that emission is being stored inside oceans, or you can say underground. Okay, so that is why there is no emission in the atmosphere. Okay, but emission will be there. That is why it is blue hydrogen. Now coming to the third type, that is related to your green hydrogen. As I told you, in the process of generating green hydrogen, what we will do is that we will go for the green electricity. That obviously here we are saying that green electricity like renewable energy sources, and not from the fossil fuel, but from the renewable energy sources like solar or wind power. Okay, now we are using this green energy and water over here. As I told you, this is the process of electrolysis. From the process of electrolysis, here this water molecule H2O will split into hydrogen and oxygen. So ultimately there will be a byproduct, that is your oxygen, and that will be your product, that is your hydrogen. Okay, so in green hydrogen, you can see that there is no emission of carbon dioxide. Okay, so that is why it is basically your green hydrogen. Similarly, if in the process we are not going for this particular energy and we are going for the methane pyrolysis, in that particular process, the hydrogen generated would be called turquoise hydrogen. This is basically on the name of the color. So basically methane, you have this methane, and pyrolysis from the methane molecules, we will try to remove what do you call it, actually H2O. Okay, so pyrolysis is the process from which we are removing H2O. So ultimately here also we are generating hydrogen by some method, and then this is called basically your turquoise hydrogen. Then we have brown hydrogen, in which there will be a coal gasification method which will be used. Okay, so we have this brown hydrogen. Okay, now we can move further with our other part, that is what is the significance of the green hydrogen fuel cell. Obviously I don't have to go into details of it, because obviously you know that we are going for the clean energy, we are trying to fight the climate change. So for that, this particular things becomes very much important. Okay, so now buses use hydrogen and air to generate electricity, emit only water as a byproduct, and making it eco-friendly. It is cleaner and more efficient choice. Hydrogen is poised to be a game changer in the India's ambitious quest to achieve net zero emission by 2070. Okay, so please remember that this particular net zero emission target for India is 2070. For China, it is 2060, and G20 countries has said that they will be going for 2050. Okay, so I hope this is clear. For India, it is 2070. Okay, what are India's initiative to promote green energy? There are certain, this FAME initiative is there, faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. Then International Solar Alliance is there, National Green Hydrogen Mission is there. Okay, so I hope this hydrogen mission, fuel cell related topic is here covered. Now we can move further with the next topic. Now XPoSat. XPoSat recently has been launched by India. It is a satellite. Okay, so recently India launched world's second X-ray polarimetry satellite known as XPoSat. Okay, so what is your polarimetry, which we will talk about in the further slide. Before that, we will talk about some features of the XPoSat. It is India's pioneering polarimetry mission aimed at studying the various dynamics of the astronomical sources. Now, when we are talking about these astronomical sources, there are various astronomical bodies. Okay, now these bodies release some kind of matter, energy, waves. Okay, so all these emissions are basically from these sources, these astronomical sources. Okay, so now we are trying to study the dynamics of these particular bodies or these sources. Okay, that is why we are going for this polarimetry satellite. Okay, now when we are talking about India, it is the pioneer, or you can say first satellite. When we are talking about the world, there is already one satellite which is existing, so it makes this the second world second polarimetry satellite. Okay, so XPoSat is world's second polarimetry mission using X-ray after NASA's first, that is imaging X-ray polarimetry export, that is IXPE. Okay, please remember this name as well. Okay, and who has launched it. Now XPoSat is a collaboration between ISRO and Raman Institute or Raman Research Institute from Bangalore. Okay, so these both are you can say India's institution. You can say this is basically a indigenous developed satellite. Okay, now let's see what is polarization or what is polarimetry when we are talking about. When we are when I said that these bodies, or you can say these astronomical bodies or sources, these sources are sending some kind of radiations, waves, or you can say light or some kind of emissions. Okay, now these emissions are basically having mixed frequencies. Okay, so here you can see when there is a light source, or you can say there is a source, and then source will have this beam or emissions which will be of various frequencies, etc. Now polarimetry means that we will use a polarizer. Okay, and then we'll try to separate it. Okay, so since here you can say there is this horizontal wave, there is this vertical wave. Okay, so there is a mixed wave over here, and with using this particular polarization, we can come up with a vertically polarized light. Okay, that can be vertically polarized, that can be horizontally polarized, depending upon the polarizer which we are using. Okay, so what we are trying to do is here, from the mixed source, we are trying to generate different polarized lights. Okay, you can say polarized. Now studying these mixed light would be little bit difficult, but studying this polarized light would be, you can say, relatively easy. Okay, so with that we will try to go and find the properties of the source. Okay, now polarization refers to the direction in which wave vibrates. Okay, here waves are vibrating in all the direction. Okay, here you can say these are vibrating in the all directions. Okay, be it vertical, be it horizontal, be it at any kind of angle itself, etc. But when we are talking about this polarized light, this is vibrating only in the vertical direction. Okay, so basically we are making sure that light is vibrating in a particular direction so that we can study the property of that particular light. Okay, now studying how radiation is polarized reveals that the nature of a source, including the strength and distribution of the magnetic field. XPoSat focuses on the study of 50 brightest known sources in the universe, providing insight into the various astronomical phenomena. So XPoSat will be studying 50 such sources, and then we will try to have an idea about the astronomical phenomena. Okay, so I hope this is clear. What we are trying to do is, from the source we are trying to study the different lights by polarizing them. Okay, and by polarizing you can say that we are trying to break that light into particular polarized light, and we are trying to study that. Okay, so that is about XPoSat. Here this is a picture of XPoSat which is given over here. So I hope this is not very important, but just to create a picture inside your mind. Now Importance of understanding these astronomical sources. Why we are trying to understand these astronomical sources? Because polarimetry measurements offer excellent diagnostics of the tools comprehending the emission process from the various astronomical sources like black holes, neutrino stars, active galactic nuclei, pulsar winds, etc. They have complex emission mechanism, okay, that basically challenge the understanding of this particular phenomena. So when we are trying to understand these astronomical sources, we are ultimately trying to trace our own origin, okay, how universe has come into picture, how these things are formed, and how these things are in a particular situation, how they are stable, how they are not stable, how black holes is working, how neutrino stars are working. All these things we are trying to find answers like that. That is why these astronomical sources, or studying these astronomical sources, is important. Now other missions of ISRO like Aditya L1, obviously this is India's pioneering sun mission, okay. So that was launched in 2023, India's first dedicated solar observatory mission, okay. This is not the schedule, we have already launched it, okay. Now Chandrayaan series, Chandrayaan 3, a follow-up mission would be there after Chandrayaan 2, okay, and it is scheduled for June 22. Earlier it was scheduled for June 2023, but okay, it has already been sent, okay. And this was very successful, you can say, because ultimately we have been able to go for a soft landing on the south pole of the moon, okay. So India is the first country to soft land on the south pole of the moon, okay. Otherwise also we see there are only 6 countries which has landed on the moon. Now Shukriyaan 1, this is India's first orbiter mission to Venus. Then Gaganyaan mission, we are trying to go for it. It will be a manned space mission that will put astronauts around 400 km in the orbit. Then we have NISAR. That NISAR is a collaboration between NASA and ISRO, okay, and it will provide information on the global environmental changes, okay. So I hope this is clear. Now we can move further to the next topic, dealing with the deepfakes, okay. So recently you must have heard about certain videos which has been going viral. So you have seen this particular deepfake video of former politician Karunanidhi as well. So ultimately that particular politician is no more, but yet there is a video, or you can say a virtual campaigning video was there. So ultimately these are all results of these deepfakes. Now if these deepfakes are going unchecked, unregulated, that will create chaos, okay. So ultimately that is why we are talking about this. Recently various news sources has focused on growing concern over the deepfakes, which are fabricated media created using deep learning technology. We will see what is deep learning technology, okay. While deepfakes have potential to distort reality and manipulate public perception, obviously as I told you, if there is a politician who is no more, but yet his video is being viral for the election purpose, so that is basically you can say manipulating the public perception, okay. They hold promises in the various fields. There are, despite all these things are negative, but there are some positives as well, okay. What is deepfake? So deepfake technology is a method of manipulating the videos, images, audio utilization powerful computer and deep learning, okay. So basically using these powerful computers, deep learning or AI tools, etc., what we are doing is we are trying to manipulate, or we are trying to create pictures which are not real, okay. So that is basically deepfake. This is part of your deep synthesis, okay. These terms are quite intermingled, or you can say confusing with each other. When we are talking about deep synthesis, it is defined as the use of technology including deep learning, augmented reality to generate text, images, audio, video to create a virtual scene. So basically here what we are doing is we are creating a virtual scene, okay. So obviously this is not real, this is virtual, okay. Now it overlays a digital composite over already existing video. Now what will happen over here is that let's say there is already existing there is a picture which is already existing over here, okay. Now what will they do is they will try to impose one overlay like this, and ultimately the result will be totally different. That would be the result. So ultimately that is basically your deep synthesis. What they are trying to do is there is already existing picture, they are trying to use a virtual overlay on that, and they are trying to merge it, or you can say superimpose with each other, and we are creating another picture which is virtual, not real, okay. So that is basically your idea of deep fakes, okay. Now these are generated to go for fake news, commit financial frauds, etc., to create manipulated content such as fake videos of political figures and false disaster images, etc., okay. Now regarding application of deepfakes, there are negative applications which we have seen. There are certain positive applications as well. Okay, or you can say that like for education purpose you can do it. Okay, for any creative purpose you can do it. Okay, you can take the creative liberty in the cinema as well. Okay, so here you can say enabled positive advancements such as restoring lost voices and recreating historical figures. Okay, which as I told you that is something which has happened recently, applied in the comedy, cinema, music, gaming to enhance the artistic expressions. Okay, so these are some positives. Okay, now coming to what is your artificial intelligence, what is machine learning, what is deep learning. When we are developing a computer system, okay, a human is developing a computer system which is able to perform a task which normally require a human intelligence. Okay, so I have made a system which is able to perform a task which a human can do. Okay, such system would be artificial intelligence. Okay, now artificial intelligence means that I have made a system wherein that system is intelligent enough to perform a human related task. Okay, now when we are talking about machine learning is part of that. Okay, or you can say advanced part of that, wherein we give the computer the ability to learn without being giving or exclusively being planned. Okay, so I'm not able to plan it, I'm not planning it, or I'm not creating it, but I'm giving the ability to machine itself that they can learn from their own experience. Okay, so that is basically machine learning. Or some algorithm wherein you can say that you have made some system or you have made some software which can learn from their own calculations which they are doing. Okay, so like when we are talking about this chat gpt etc, these are your AI tools. Okay, but when you try to optimize it, when you try to give a prompt to chat gpt, next time they will ask you which one do you like. Okay, so if you consider the first one, next time they will try to give you that kind of results. Okay, so that is something that particular chat box is learning on their own. Okay, now what is deep learning? Now this deep learning is even the advanced form wherein that machine is learning on its own like a brain like logical structure of algorithm. Okay, so you can say that there is a artificial neural network kind of thing. Okay, so like in our mind we have a neurons network, so that will be an artificial neural network. Okay, so in this particular thing, that machine will be able to learn, machine will be able to change itself, machine will be able to optimize itself. Okay, so that is basically your deep learning. Now similarly these deep learnings are being used in the deep fakes. Okay, now we can move further. There are another type of they have talked about augmented reality. So I'll tell you what is virtual reality, what is augmented reality, and what is merged reality. So when there is a person who has used this particular you can say device from which it is enclosed, and he is able to experience a world which is not there outside. Okay, so let's say if I'm here in front of you, and if I put a glasses or goggles or something as some kind of device which makes me believe that I'm somewhere else. Okay, or in some other universe, parallel universe, or you can maybe some other place, so that virtual reality is created around me. Okay, so here you can see that this is basically a person who is watching through this particular device, and there is a virtual reality which is being created around it. Okay, so that is your virtual reality. Then augmented reality means that I am here, I'm present in this particular reality, but because of that particular devices I can see some extra images or I can see some extra formations over there. This is basically you are augmenting the existing reality. Okay, so you must have this game, that Pokemon. Okay, so wherein you have seen that there was some small you can say creatures which you could see around you. Okay, so that is basically related to your augmented reality. Okay, otherwise also you can see that there is merged reality. Okay, so in merged reality what we are doing is we are going for the synthesis of virtual as well as the real world. Okay, so here we are saying that real and the virtual world are basically intermingled with each other. Okay, so I hope this is clear. This is virtual reality, augmented reality, and the merged reality or the mixed reality. Okay, now we can move further with the next thing. When we are talking about this deepfake, what are the stance of India? India does not have a particular law which is governing these things or this particular technology. There existing laws such as section 67 and 67A of the information technology, which has provisions with respect to the aspects of you can say defamation etc. Okay, or publishing explicit material. So ultimately if someone is going for your deepfake and which is derogatory in nature, so you can go for defamation suit etc. But ultimately that is related to the content and not particularly with respect to the technology. Now, Section 500 of the Indian Penal Code provides punishment for the defamation. Then Personal Data Protection Bill 2022, if passed, could provide some protection against the misuse of personal data. Again, they are talking about the misuse of personal data. Okay, so if for generation of the deep fake someone has used your personal data, that can be punishable. But again, this is not per se for the deep fake technology. Okay, so we still need one such framework for that. Now, what about the other countries? So European Union, they have come up with the code of practices on disinformation. So as I told you, these deep fakes can be used for the generation of disinformation. So that is one thing. They have come up with a code in 2018. United States introduced a bipartisan deep fake task force act to assist Department of Homeland Security to counter the deepfake technology. When we are talking about China, China introduced a comprehensive regulation on the deep synthesis effective from January 2023. Okay, so these three countries are having some kind of formations on deepfakes, but when we are talking about India, India does not have exclusively an act which is working on the deepfake technology or regulating the deepfake technology. Now we can move further with the next slide. So next is STARFIRE algorithm. So what is STARFIRE algorithm? Okay, so let's see first what has been the recent news. Recently, scientists at the Raman Research Institution, an autonomous institute for Department of Science and Technology, have developed an algorithm named STARFIRE to tackle the unwanted radio frequency interfaces. Okay, so please remember this is RFI, that I'll be using it in the further discussion. RFI, this is radio frequency interferences. Okay, in space, in enriching data obtained from the space-based astronomical missions. So basically, this algorithm is an algorithm which is utilized to optimize the data which has been generated from the space, and that is coming to you in the form of RFIs. Okay, so now basically this algorithm will refine them, or you can say filter them. Okay, in the simple words you can say that is basically to filter the RFIs. Okay, now we can see in detail here. Simulation of terrestrial radio frequency interface in orbits around the Earth. Okay, so that is STARFIRE is an advanced algorithm developed to estimate and map unwanted RFI signals. Okay, so these radio frequency interfaces are there around us. Okay, now this particular algorithm is to make sure that it is identifying the wanted and the unwanted, or it can map the wanted frequencies and it can separate it from the unwanted frequencies. Okay, so that is basically your STARFIRE. The STARFIRE algorithm can estimate and identify the RFI emitted by various sources, including FM radio stations, Wi-Fi networks, mobile networks, radar satellites, and communication devices. Okay, so basically all these devices are generating these radio frequency. Okay, so it can identify the radio frequencies of different things and it can try to separate them. Okay, now this innovative algorithm has the potential to revolutionize space-based astronomical missions and enrich the data obtained from the missions in the future. So basically what it will do is that it will remove the unidentified frequencies. So ultimately you will have you can say enriched, or you can say defined frequencies which can be used. Okay, so ultimately it is optimizing, or you can say trying to enrich the data which we are receiving from the satellites. Okay, now to develop this algorithm, scientists has utilized the data on FM transmitters stations from 6 countries, that is including Canada, USA, Japan, Australia, Germany, and South Africa. So this thing particular you can remember. Okay, now here you can see what are the applications here. The enhancing radio astronomy. Okay, radio astronomy basically is, you can say, the study of early universe. Okay, so we are trying to make sure that when we are talking about this astronomy, we are trying to study the universe. So there are various satellites which are there to observe the universe, and they are sending data to our earth stations. Now these data are in the form of the radio frequencies, or you can say some kind of waves. Okay, so ultimately when we are trying to receive them, transmit them, so this particular algorithm can help us identify the whatever useful data or useful waves are for us. Okay, so basically that is trying to filter them. The algorithm assists in designing the instrument for the space-based astronomy missions that can operate optimally even in the presence of the RFI. So now we have this algorithm. So there are other radio frequencies which are over there around us, but it will be able to generate a particular, you can say, device. If we have this particular algorithm set up in that particular device, that device will be catering to a particular type of frequency only. Okay, so it will not be affected by these RFIs. Okay, now this leads to improved data collection and analysis for the future missions, which I have already discussed. The STARFIRE is utilized in the missions like probing, patch probing. Okay. Next is STARFIRE is utilized in the missions like probing reionization of the universe using signals from the hydrogen, that is Pratyush. Okay, so in this Pratyush initiative that can be used. Okay, now if we are having this particular thing about this, you can say STARFIRE, other use is that we can select the orbits. Okay, we can identify where is the least interference, and in that particular orbit we can set up our satellites. The algorithm can aid in orbit selection for the future space mission by identify low RFI orbits, where is low frequency interference is there. So we can identify such orbits, particularly in the less than or nearly 100 megahertz frequency range, making them suitable for the various scientific experiments. Okay, flexibility and versatility, as I told you, this particular STARFIRE you can say algorithm, it will help you in fine tuning the antennas. Okay, antennas are nothing but the receivers. Okay, so we are trying to make that fine tuned it, or you can say that we ultimately are trying to enrich the data which we are getting. Okay, and instruments components for the successful data gathering. If these antennas are optimized with this STARFIRE algorithm, so ultimately they will catch only the data they are required. Okay, so that is how they can fine tune the antennas. Now STARFIRE offers flexibility to adjust the properties of the transmitting and receiving antennas and leading to the more meaningful experimental results. Okay, since data is already optimized, data is already filtered, so results would be more promising. Okay, so I hope this is the thing which we have already discussed about the STARFIRE. I hope it is clear. So with that, I would like to take your leave because we have discussed today's agenda. I'll see you in the next episode of Science and Tech. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.